Then moving on to donkey. So write a conclusion to this experiment stating for which lid the rate of cooling is greater. Okay, so which one here has a greater cooling rate? Explain your answer by reference to the results. Okay, now our results are basically from this table here, A and B. Now, when we say that something has a good cooling rate, what it meant is that at the end, the drop in temperature will be the highest one. So for beaker A, right, we can see this is 80 degrees Celsius. At the end is 68 degrees Celsius. So the drop in temperature between them, right, is actually minus by 12 degrees already. Then, if we do the same thing for your beaker B, we can actually see the other thing as well. So 81 minus 73.5, we only decrease by 7.5 degrees Celsius. So definitely, beaker A would have a better cooling rate. So then you can write your answer down for them. A has greater cooling rate. Okay, then after that, they want you to reference to your results. So you just plug in some values for them. You can say that it decreases from 80 to 68 degrees Celsius, which has a greater drop as compared to B. Okay, so yeah, once you got write down some values referring to A, right, then you are good already. Okay, and now we can move on to part number 2 as well. So they are saying that suggest a change to the apparatus that could produce a greater difference between the rates of cooling of lid A and lid B. Explain why the change might produce a greater difference. Okay, now we wanted to have a greater difference in the rate of cooling. So it's either we make this one over here to be much more colder, or we make this one over here to be much more hotter. So both methods are okay one. Okay, as long as your way of doing it is sensible, right, then they cannot penalize you for your marks. Okay, so now we know that our experiment is involving a lid only. So just now we cover half the lid, and then the other one we covered 3/4 of the lid. So if we wanted to have a greater difference in between their temperature, probably what we can do is, on the second beaker B, we can add a layer of insulation around it. So when we add a layer of insulation, it will trap the heat that is within the beaker over here. And if a lot of heat are inside, the temperature, it will not drop that fast. And so this temperature here, it will become higher than your original amount, and therefore the difference between them will be even bigger than before. Okay, and so the changes that you can say, you can maybe talk about applying insulation to the beaker. Okay, then for your explanation, you can say that it prevents. Yeah, so with that, then you will definitely have a greater difference between the rates of cooling. Okay, so far does anyone have questions or not? Okay, oh sorry, I didn't see the question you guys say. Okay, so just now Ryan talked about can I say about the room temperature? Yeah, you can say about the room temperature. Maybe you can say that put A to a colder environment. So if you put it to colder environment, then this one over here would drop. So much more temperature difference also. Okay, then what about removing the lid? Okay, I don't think you guys can talk about your lid, because the purpose of your experiments right now is actually to investigate what are the effects of the lid. So if I remove the lid already, it wouldn't have your purpose anymore. Lay, yes, insulation does not change the apparatus. Now, when we say adding or getting something off from the apparatus, right, it is still changes to the apparatus one. So addition to it is still okay. Okay, can I say put cotton wool? Okay, do we have to specify the kind of insulation? You guys can also. You can tell them you are using cotton or maybe nylon also can, but as long as you got mentioned insulation, then it should be alright. Put in a vacuum box is the correct answer. I don't think vacuum box would affect your readings, you know. Okay, because I mean, more or less it will lah, but it wouldn't have such a big difference in between them. So vacuum box, I don't think that would accept the answer for this one. Okay, still got any more questions regarding this one? Won't the experiment become inaccurate if add insulator to one beaker? Yeah, it would be lah. That's why usually we would want to have like both to be the same conditions one. But then they wanted us to talk about producing a greater difference only. They didn't say wanted a fair test or anything, so it is still acceptable. Because what the question over here wanted to test you guys on is whether you understand the principle of cooling or not. So if you give that kind of answer to them, right, like insulations referring to preventing heat loss, then they will give you the mark.